Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast. Is that still true? Are we still the only sports podcast?
Yeah, I think so.
Gotta be. Pretty sure.
Owners of the only microphones in Lewis County.
That is true. Sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, and AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. I'm Aaron Van Tile, joined tonight by Chronicle sports editor Alec Dietz, and Chronicle sports reporter Josh Kirschenbaum. And, it's almost districts already. How did this happen? The sun came out like last week, and now all of a sudden, I was just reading like Adna had wrapped up its like league baseball season already, and I was like, what are you talking about? That's impossible.
At least it got sunny before districts, unlike last year.
Yeah. Well, it could still get rainy by districts. These things have happened. Anyway, did district near district time sneak up on you guys?
Yes. Because a week ago, we were on the back of 4 straight days of cancellations.
That's true. But first, we have a note in here that there's a rant coming from Josh that says, why can't league games just be league games? Josh, the floor is yours.
Well, speaking of the fact that we just had 4 straight days of cancellation, this is the worst thing that is going on in sports right now. You know, Scott Van Pelt has the best thing I saw today. This is the worst thing that I've seen today. And it's all of the local leagues insisting on playing league matchups that don't count towards the league standings. And it just doesn't make sense. It just makes everybody's jobs harder. I don't know who likes this, but you just have random games where, like, you know, Tumwater plays WF West, and it just happens that it doesn't count towards league. It's a non-league game, and I sort of get the point of it from the outset. They're just, you know, especially when you get down to the 2B ranks, there aren't a ton of teams in the area. Mm-hmm. You don't want to have every game count. Like, you want to fill out your schedule, and maybe you have a cap on league games. But then it rains, and you lose all of your league games, and you're replacing them with non-league games. And it's just sort of a matter of you're no longer trying to play everybody 2 times or play everybody 3 times. You're playing whoever you can at whatever time you can, because only 25% of the days this season have been fit to play baseball and softball. Mm-hmm. And you're just kind of putting yourself in a place where you're not going to play your full allotment of league games, even if all of them counted towards league, but they're not all counting towards league.
Well, here's a potential fix. Say you're Adna and you have 3 games scheduled against Napavine baseball, and 2 of those are league quote unquote games. Why don't you just make the first 2, whatever first 2 games you get in, those are league games?
That would be fine.
The third one is just, you can write that one off.
And I get, again, there's a cap at how many games you can play in a season, and maybe that's a problem.
Maybe there shouldn't be.
Maybe there shouldn't be. The thing about baseball and softball is the whole point is that you're going to play a lot of games. You're going to lose some games, and it's going to be, if you play enough games, it doesn't matter if somebody has to play the top team in the league 3 times while somebody else only has to play them twice, because once you've played 15 or 20 league games, it's kind of going to all balance them out where the top teams kind of float to the top. Mm-hmm. But when you're arbitrarily making some of the games not count towards league standings, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
because you're keeping it artificially low. Like so the C2BL baseball isn't doing this for the most part, even though it is kind of. And again, it just seems completely arbitrary. And what you see there is everybody's played double-digit league games, and it's kind of, you know, fallen out, shaken up the order into basically what you'd expect it to be. And it doesn't matter that somebody's played 1 more league game than somebody else or 2 more league games than somebody else, because they've all played enough that it's sort of falling into order. If you look at the softball standings, nobody's played more than 6 league games, and we have 1 week left in the regular season.
Is that true?
Centralia and Tumwater haven't played each other yet.
But and
WFS and Tumwater have played 3 times.
And we have 1 week left in the regular season, and Rainier softball has played 3 league games.
It's not enough.
But the problem is now you get into the point where, again, if it's impossible to play 3 or 4 or 5 league games and have a set order like that. You're going to get teams that are within a half game of each other or a game of each other, and these things aren't going to get solved in a meaningful way in the next week.
Yeah, and another sort of issue with it that is less of a logistical thing is, especially with the Central 2B softball league, they've done the doubleheader where the first game counts as league and the second game is a non-league game, which is the worst setup in the history of sports, because the first game is this, obviously super intense game you're trying to win. And the second game devolves into let's throw our 8th grader in at pitcher, and it turns into a 20-18 7-run slugfest because no one is really that adamant about trying to win it. And it's like, what is even the point of playing the game anymore?
Yeah.
Like, other than, getting players in that wouldn't normally play, but like still like
their stats.
Still like Rainier, for example, has played 3 quote league games, but every single one of those they played a game afterwards against that same team that was non-league. That was like, I remember, I think, was it the Ani game?
The Ani game. They won 1-0 in a league game, and then they won 21-20 in a non-league game
afterwards. And it's like, cool. It's just a waste of everybody. Like, it's just like, why is this? Like, just make if you're playing a league team, it should be a league game. Like, make the games matter. All of your league games should matter. You shouldn't play a league opponent and be like, this game doesn't matter. Like, we're not trying to win it. It doesn't matter. We're just going to test some things out. Like, you don't get enough games in to be able to have that luxury.
If you were playing a 20-game league schedule and you wanted to play another 10 games and you couldn't find another 10 non-league opponents, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But if you're going to finish playing 7 league games,
yeah,
this is bad.
Yeah.
So. All right. Good discussion, guys. Good rant. Good discourse.
What do you think?
Like I said, I think if you're going to play extra league games, just make the first 2 count as league and then just like write off the last one or something. Or just like find somebody else to play. Do something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go play. If you're an EVCO team, go play a GSHL team. If you're a C2BL team, go play a Pacific League team. They got turf out there. You'll be fine. Figure something out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Speaking of league games that don't count as league, let's talk about the 2Bs.
Yeah. 2B baseball. With 1-ish league series left on each team's schedule, here are the rankings. Tudor Lake in first at 12-2, Toledo at 11-3, Adna 11-4, Napavine 9-4, Kalama 8-5, Rainier in sixth at 4-9, and Wahkiakum in seventh at 3-11. Big drop off between
top
5 and 6 there. Really, the haves and the have-nots.
Yep. And Rainier
that is the motto of the Central 2B in general.
And Rainier has shot up because I think they started 0-7 in league, and they've like won 4 of their past 6 or something like that to get up into that district spot.
Because they've played Moormai Pass, Winlock, and Wahkiakum.
There it is.
Yeah, all right. Toledo and Adna are both done with league, probably.
We think so.
The other thing, too, is like these are the standings to the best of our knowledge. If there were games that didn't count or counted that we don't know of or aren't out there,
tough to track.
Like
Adna
maybe could be a top 2. Like, so anyway, this is the best that we know.
I'm tracking these by hand. So the other thing that happened in the 2Bs is Onalaska doesn't have a baseball team this year. So, and they canceled their season like kind of right before the season started, so everybody had to...
They just didn't get a high enough turnout, so that's why they...
Yeah. But they didn't find that out until right before the season started, so they canceled all their series, which had already been scheduled. So, like, Toledo was supposed to play Ani the last week of the season, and just didn't happen, and they're scrambling to find non-league games, but they're not going to replace them with league games.
Yeah.
And the other one is Morton White Pass is having scheduling issues for other reasons, or the same reasons. Nobody's really confirmed it to me. So they keep knocking their games down to no games or 1 game. They are last, they are winless, and it's kind of honestly the difference between Tudor Lake, Toledo, Adna, and Napavine is that Toledo will go this season without playing Morton White Pass. Tudor got to play them twice, and Adna only got to play them once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. Toledo and Adna both done. Napavine 2 games left against Rainier, which like those are probably winnable, right?
They should be wins, yeah.
If Napavine sweeps and goes to 11-4, Toledo should keep second place, and we're not sure what the tiebreaker would be with Adna.
They split with Adna, and I believe both of those were league games.
Both of those were league games. Every baseball doubleheader in the 2Bs was both league games.
That we know of.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. That's the other thing. It's just impossible to track
There's no communication.
Because it's just like, was this league? Was this not league?
You know,
there's some games where Rainier played Onalaska in softball. the other day, and the second game got rained out in the third inning, and we do not know if that game counts or not.
The Toodle on Alaska.
Yeah, sorry, Toodalon, Alaska. It's just a mess.
You know what would be great is if there was a one big statewide website which had everything consolidated and
Yeah.
That would be lovely. Yeah, they used to have one of those. It was great.
yeah.
Yeah, if there is a tie for second place, Toledo and Adna, I can't
And
see.
Toledo also split with Adna, so
Yeah, like I can't see.
Did they
There's
split with Napavine too?
Yep.
Like, so Napavine could be in the mix too if they sweep Rainier. So.
yeah. And the reason Toledo is currently ahead of those two teams just having played fewer league games and therefore having lost fewer league games because they're 11-3.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
knows?
kind of a mess. And then Toodle plays Kalama this week in a game that people here care about just because it finishes up the standings. It's
Yeah.
the only game between vaguely two top teams. Toodle can clinch league for the third straight season with a sweep. If Kalama wins, then I believe it gives Toodle, even if Kalama only wins one, and both Toodle and Toledo finish on 3 losses, then Toledo gets the tiebreaker because Toledo swept Toodle earlier in the year.
good stuff.
Probably.
When do districts start?
Week and a half.
A week and a half. May 6th, a week from Saturday.
Okay, all right. District favorites?
Toodle.
Toodle.
Toodle and Toledo in the finals, probably.
I think it's going to be tough to overcome the Toodle's pitching rotation, like we've been talking about, has stepped up recently, and they've been pretty hard to hit. So.
And next week's podcast, their opening rant will be the setup of districts that allows Toodle to only have to throw 2 pitchers the entire district tournament.
Oh, that's good.
So, I mean, every team's strategy is going to try to run up the pitch count on those 2 guys and get the bullpen in. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when that happens. But I would imagine Toodle is probably, any one of those top 5 teams could probably make a run. I haven't seen Kalama, but Toledo is definitely a really, really solid team. Adna's been solid. I think they split with Toledo and Napavine.
Yep.
So any one of those teams could kind of make it. I mean, you saw last year when Napavine made the run. So, but I would imagine that Toodle Lake is probably a favorite just based on their 2 Division I pitching.
Yeah, I mean, they've won 12 straight for a reason.
Okay. All right. Shall we look at softball? There is a week and a little more than that left in the regular season, and only 2 teams have played 6 C2BL games. The standings right now, Adna is 5-0. Again, it is the end of April. Rainier is in second place with a 3-0 record. Napavine third at 3-1. This feels like week 6 football.
And again, like the issue is every single one of those, they also played a game afterwards that didn't count for league against the same team. It's like, this is so easily fixable. Why was this what you came up with?
I mean, if we counted every game for league, it would have been unfair to the team that had to play Rainier twice instead of Winlock twice.
Right.
But also, having everybody be on 10 league games by now would have made this so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toledo's in 4th at 3, or Napavine 3rd, 3-1. Toledo 4th, 3-2. Kalama 5th, 2-2. Toodle 2-3. Ani 2-4. And then you've got MWP, Winlock, and Wakayakum, who are out of the playoff running as of right now. I've been asking this question every week, but Adna's still a favorite?
Yeah, Toledo took them 7 innings yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep, first 7-inning game in over a month.
I'm counting that as
That might be the first 7-inning league game in a long time because I don't think they had one last year.
well, in the big one tonight, they got Rainier. So,
Yeah.
In a matchup between undefeateds where the undefeateds have played a combined 8 games with a week.
what are we doing? What are we doing here?
It is a big game, though. I mean, I minimize it, but the Rainier has definitely been probably the most consistent team outside of Adna, out of all the teams. So it'd be interesting to see if Rainier can kind of give them a run. They're starting an 8th grader in the circle. It'll be interesting to see how Riley Cruz does against a very powerful Adna.
Nobody's solved her yet. It's just kind of going to be the adjustment of whether they can get up in the box and kind of wait on it.
Right. So, that's kind of the interesting one. And then Napavine is playing Toledo tonight. That's also a big one because they're right now 3-4. So,
Having played a combined 9 games.
Yeah.
And district softball will probably be May 15th to
Yes.
20th that week.
Yep.
So that's a couple weeks off. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little bit longer. I think there's another two weeks in the season. So it's
So
not.
they got plenty of time to get those last 15 games in.
But they won't. Like, I would almost be fine if they did. If they just said, screw it, everybody has to play every day.
Just go to Borst and everyone finish out all their league games in a single day.
Yeah, that would
Just
be
like
fun.
rotate them all through.
This podcast brought to you by Global Septic, providing septic service and portable sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor counties. Thurston, Lewis, Mason, yeah, all of them. Providing,
All of them, all the counties.
just making sure I listed them all off. Septic pumping, inspection, and riser installation. Of course, commercial septic pumping. You got some issues downstairs in the bathroom here at the Chronicle. You know, Global Septic will come fix that right up for us.
If your league schedule's all backed up because of rain.
Call Global Septic to clear the shit out of there. Grease trap services, and of course, they'll rent you a porta potty and a portable sink. Visit globalseptic.com. That's GOEBEL septic.com, or give them a call 360-736-2167. In the 2As, we've got some 2A softball things. WFS blew out Centralia 12-2. Was this last night?
This was last night.
In 5 innings to force a Swamp Cup split.
Just because, in case you didn't remember, Centralia beat WFS in softball.
Who could forget? Do they play? They've got another one too, don't
No.
they? Theoretically,
Apparently they only
They
play
only play
twice.
2 games.
We don't know about the schedule, man.
what is going on?
Here's the other thing too. If they would play for a third time, it would not be a league game either. So
Oh well. All right.
yeah.
Savannah Hawkins hit a home run, went 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs.
She destroyed a softball.
She can hit the ball pretty.
You know
well.
the building out behind left field at Rec Park with the WFS logo?
Yeah,
She put it off the top of it.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Brielle Etter, Rachel Gray, and Avalon Myers each had 2 hits for the Bearcats. Centralia got 2 in the first, and then WFS answered with 7 in the bottom of the first. And Ellie Young shut the Tigers out the rest of the way.
Pretty dominant.
Yeah.
Probably
sounds.
return to how the series has been.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nature's healing itself. Look at
I
that.
almost made that my lead, and I figured that would be a little mean. But
That would be.
Kevin Zylstra definitely said, like, I think their pride was hurt a little bit the way the last game went.
Yeah, I can admit. Did we ever find out what
I
Zylstra
did.
got?
I did. I don't know if he said I wasn't allowed to say.
Okay. We'll just keep your secrets then.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, Tumwater beat Shelton and Aberdeen shut out Rochester. These all last night's games. The standings: WF West in first at 6-2, Aberdeen in second at 5-2. Tumwater is also 5-2, but currently on the losing end of the tiebreaker with Aberdeen. But
I
they
think
are
Centralia is just 4-2, by the way. Anyway,
then Centralia 4-3 in the
No,
pigtail
because they
spot.
lost to Aberdeen and Shelton and WF West.
Shelton was.
They lost to them twice.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Never mind.
And then Rochester, Black Hills, and Shelton are at this point out of the running. Top 4 go to districts, and one of them's a pigtail.
Yeah, so Rochester can play its way in, but it's got to figure some things out.
Okay. Who's the favorite in districts there? Like a Ridgefield?
Ridgefield.
I think Ridgefield.
Probably. Ridgefield ran through the Evco at the beginning of the season, so
Yeah, I mean, if WFS can hit like it's been hit, and it wasn't just yesterday. They had, I think, one quiet game because Ella Ferguson shut them down on Monday, last Monday. No, this past Monday.
This Monday, yeah.
But they had back-to-back just huge outings. I know they hung 26 on Aberdeen at one point, and I think after that they had like a 19-run game or something. So they're going to do it on the bats, and the bats looked pretty good.
Okay. And then Evco baseball. Tumwater sweeps WF West over the weekend. Beat them 10-0 and 5-2. That was that home and home series, right?
Yeah, they played Friday, and then they played 10 hours later on Saturday.
Oh, nice. Alex Overbay and Trent Gaither both tossed complete games for Tumwater. And the T-Birds are they in contention to win another state title?
They might be.
They won it last year, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
They did, and I mean the thing I was worried about going into last weekend was kind of the pitching and whether they had that consistent pitching, and they did. Alex Overbay looked really good, and Trent Gaither looked really good, and I mean they're not D1 caliber like the guys they had last year, but they were really dominant. They were both locating 3 pitches and decent high school level speed. Yeah, I was really impressed with Tumwater.
All right. Elsewhere, WF West swept Aberdeen. Centralia split with Black Hills and Rochester, and then Black Hills split with Shelton. How that Centralia Rochester? What went on there? What's going on?
A lot of walks.
Oh,
just a whole lot of walks.
Well, there's a note in here that says talk about.
I don't know what there is
to
talk about. Rochester walked in. They went to extra innings, and Rochester walked in all the winning runs and just kind of fell to pieces. So
that's a shame.
But
Centralia got to win.
Yeah, Centralia won. Showed discipline at the plate, I suppose. I think this. Yeah, I mean, we can go over with the league standings because I mean that's a pretty tough loss for Rochester. They're not completely out of it, but that was sort of just a Rochester. Like Braden Hartley, their main guy, had 10 strikeouts, but also 7 walks in like 4 innings. So that they were just kind of like.
Were you there? Was it a tight zone or what?
I was there for the first couple innings, and I came back just because it was kind of a busy day. And Josh had the late game. There, Centralia WFS softball didn't start till 6, so I'd be back to take calls and stuff.
Under the lights at Rec Park.
But I don't think it was necessarily a tight zone. It's just what Brad Cornstrom, Rochester's coach, was saying was just they would come in and kind of look pretty good, get into some trouble and get out of it, and then just kind of not fall completely to pieces, but just totally lose control of his own. So I don't know, maybe the bright orb in the sky is kind of spooking them a little bit here this week.
They're not used to their arms being so loose with it.
Yeah.
And dry, yeah.
But just one of those games, more than some kind of like shocking upset. I think it was just, and honestly, Centralia was also kind of struggling with it, but then Brady Sprague stepped in and kind of shut the door on Rochester there in, I think, 2 or 3 innings of work. So, big win for Centralia, I guess. I think it technically maybe keeps them alive for
and they split with Shelton too. So, and they split with Black Hills. So,
tech keeps them alive maybe for that 4th spot. But the Evcos on the baseball side is a lot less interesting than the softball side.
Standings. Tumwater in first place at 9-1. Who's their loss to?
Aberdeen.
Okay. WF West at 8-2. Shelton 6-6. Rochester 5-6. Aberdeen 5-6. Centralia 3-7, and Black Hills 2-9. So Tumwater and WF West, and then Shelton, Rochester, Aberdeen. 2 of those 3 probably doing district stuff.
Yeah, and WF West and Tumwater, they play a 3rd time, and currently it's listed as a league game. Simply, I think, on the basis of screw it, it'll be cool to make them play for the league title.
Okay.
Like, there's no, like, everybody else, they play a 3rd time, and it doesn't count towards league, but those 2 will. Just to make it a little bit harder for Tumwater, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's not quite as wide open, but it's still got the parity. I don't know if you saw, I tweeted out yesterday, both the baseball and softball in the 2As completed a circle of parity going into yesterday, even that was even before the upset of Centralia beating Rochester. So you can do a full circle of somebody beat somebody in both sides. And we're barely halfway through the season, the league season with all the rainouts.
All right. This podcast brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. You guys need any furniture?
Lots of outdoor stuff.
Lots of, I don't know that they have.
I'm not sure.
Try again.
Lawn chair.
How about some home accents? How about like a bedroom ensemble or some
Do you need any
lights?
of this?
Yeah, you always ask us.
Yeah.
Did you get your current furniture at Elam's Home Furnishings?
I have never bought a new piece of furniture in my life.
Yeah, well,
but I'm about to.
Okay.
I'm going to get the Synchrony Home Promotional Financing credit card and just go load up. I'm going to get I'm going to start in the living room, and it's just going to be it's going to be like some individual seating, some group seating, some living room storage, some ottomans, accent tables, lamps, cabinets, chests, bookshelves, all of it.
Totally in our price range for sure.
I'm going to have so much storage, yeah.
And then what happens is then you take those out of the boxes and you can give the boxes to us to sit on.
Exactly, yeah. Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. Check out their showroom at 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia, or visit them online, elamshf.com.
Other stuff.
We have a 1A baseball update, even though we're not sure about the standings. Tenino is 7-1, and their only loss is to Montesano. Good for them.
Pretty sure Montesano's undefeated. They should be undefeated.
Well, not as good for them as I previously thought, but they get a doubleheader at Montesano on Tuesday for the league title. And the softball team is 3-7, but they got their first league win last Friday against Eatonville. So things are looking up.
Yeah.
Any comments on tonight? Pretty good.
Yeah, baseball team's been pretty good.
They actually look. I was at the beginning of their game against Alma on was that Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. They looked
Whatever
really,
day it was.
They did actually look really good. Kind of on both sides of the ball. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, and since that first game they lost to Montesano was 19-16, and another game where I think they walked 15 batters. And yeah, just 19-16 baseball game. Yeah. It was a marathon. Since then, their pitching staff has thrown strikes and looked pretty good. So, they've won a series against every other league team. So,
I think that Montesano game, that was their first league game. Right?
It was.
So they've won 7 straight since.
Exactly. So,
and get this, they're double headers where both games count towards league.
Yeah.
What?
So somehow we managed to get Tenino gets to play 8 league games in like 10 days.
Yeah.
What a concept.
So they're going to be playing Montesano for if they can sweep them on the road, they will take the league championship. If it's a split, I think Monty takes it on the tiebreaker, and obviously if they get swept, it's outright. So yeah, interesting stuff. Again, just like last year, 2 years ago during the COVID season, they won 1 game, and last year it came down to beating Montesano, I think, on the last day of the regular season, and they couldn't get it done, and they ended up taking second. This year they're in a position to win a league championship again.
I don't know how far above third place they are. Like if they lose both and they go 7-3, I would guess they're still into second with the hosting privilege in districts, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they do have the tiebreaker against everyone else.
Yes.
Because they've won 2 league games against at least everybody else. So I'd imagine they're probably in good position to finish second, especially if everyone else gets swept by Montesano.
Yeah.
In the 1B baseball ranks, Mossy Rock shut out Nacelle 3-0 on Monday. Tim Bowes tossed 5 2/3 innings, shutout innings, struck out 10. Cooper Young got the save. I think they're tied for first in league, but it doesn't matter? ?
I mean, there's 4 teams in the league, and everybody makes districts. So you get unless you get a trophy for winning the league. I'll say
that's more of a plaque league, really.
Yeah. I will say good win for Mossy Rock.
Yeah,
they're looking pretty good. Tim Bowes is just a cool story. He's a senior. He hadn't played baseball since 8th grade, and just like I guess saw how much fun the team was having, and was like, I want to come back. Huh. And he's become their ace and one of their best players. And I mean, they already had a pretty good lineup. A bunch of solid athletes. It's a 1B baseball team. Mm-hmm. They got a couple good baseball players and a bunch of athletic bodies kind of filling behind them, and he's made them that much better. So it's the 3rd time they've beaten Nacelle in the boys' sports this year, and it's the 3rd time the coach has said they got the monkey off their back afterwards. So,
all right, nice. Yeah. And then on the softball team, Mossy Rock beat Nacelle 10-4, and then beat Oakville 18-0. They wrapped up that league, though again, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they'll play.
Districts does matter. So once you get there, you play the first one, and it's loser out because only one team makes it out of the district. Because again, there's only 4 teams in the league and 4 teams in the district. So,
there's a glue game.
There's a glue game, yeah. So if you win the district championship, you get the outright berth into state. If you lose the district championship, which both Mossy Rock teams did last year, you play in that glue game against like a district 7, district 1, whoever, another district team to earn the state berth. And both Mossy Rock teams lost that glue game last year. So that's kind of when it starts getting more interesting with the 1Bs. Because, I mean, unless something miraculous happens, Mossy Rock and Nacelle are going to be playing each other in a much more meaningful game in the district championship in probably both those sports.
Okay. This podcast brought to you by AmeriCool Heating and Air Conditioning.
Is it really air conditioning?
I thought it was heating and cooling.
That's
you
what it says.
You got to change your
right
note,
there.
man.
Did they change it?
Your comfort is their business.
Oh, that has not changed.
That has not changed. They either keep you as hot or as cold as you would like to be, offering full-service HVAC installation services and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee with everything they do.
Just like us.
Just like us. They will also give you an estimate. Also like us, somebody can call in a game and be like, hey, how many words is this going to be? And you'd be like, 200-300? They'll be like, good enough.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, call their 24-hour hotline and be like, hey, AmeriCool, What's the temperature in my apartment?
Rich Teitzel of Onalaska Softball once gave me shit because he like called in a score. No, he didn't even call in a score. I think it was on like Game Changer or something, and it was the other team sent it in, and the recap was like 100 words, and he was like, "You guys must have run out of ink or something with this one." And I was like, "Yeah, well, you know, before we got our publishers to help pay for the Game Changer. You get so limited stats in the like non-paid version of Game Changer. It's like,
Oh yeah, it's bad.
it's horrible. So yeah, I was like, there's nothing for me to write about here. It's like, so anyway, we got that corrected.
Yeah.
Now it's like 200 words.
It's nice of Chad to shell out for Game Changer.
Oh yeah.
That $10 over the course of a month or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. Why don't I give you some contact information for them? You can give them a call at 360-273-3300. That's also their 24/7 emergency service line. Although you may be more comfortable visiting west.americoolonline.com and clicking the bright yellow Request an Appointment button. And once you do that, you know what you can do? You can request an appointment.
Get those AC units now.
Hell yeah. Good games coming up, in which Josh tries to convince us that the games he has listed are in fact going to be good.
Oh, I got a secret one that isn't even on the list.
I can't wait to hear this. Friday, WFS at Tumwater Baseball, maybe for the league title, question mark?
Yeah, I mean, it is for the league title unless somebody is just lazy and didn't mark that it's actually a non-league game, so who the hell knows?
Great.
That's my pitch.
Rochester WFS softball on Friday?
I mean, Rochester needs this one.
They need to win.
I don't know if it's quite that if they lose this, they're out of the running, but if they win this, they are squarely back in the running because everybody's only played 7 league games, so winning one is a huge deal.
And Rochester just hasn't picked up a win against one of the top half teams in the league yet.
Except for Aberdeen.
Except for Aberdeen once, and they've already lost twice to Aberdeen to make up for it. So they need to get one back against one of those teams. Centralia already has a couple against those teams. Tumwater obviously already has a couple against the top teams. Aberdeen. So if you want, only 4 teams make it to districts. So if you want to be one of those 4 teams, you have got to win one of those upper half games, and they have a couple coming up. So, and again, they were 1 game out of a trophy last year out of state with a lot coming back. So
I mean, they're only a game out of that pigtail spot.
If they make it, anything can happen. Like legitimately, this isn't even just BS reporter talk about anything could happen. Like legitimately, anything could happen if you make it in.
I think the GSHL is on both baseball and softball. The top teams are very good, but I think it's actually the opposite of what usually happens, where the EVCO has the depth, and the best team might be Ridgefield, but I think then comes at least 2 or 3 EVCO teams after that in the district pecking order.
So yeah. That's a big game for them.
Also on Friday, Centralia at Black Hills Soccer. It's win or stop playing for Centralia, win or be eliminated from postseason contention.
Pretty much. Centralia has 2 more games. One of them is against Black Hills. The other is against undefeated league champs Aberdeen, and they need to win one of those. So, yeah. Black Hills just upset WF West, which is wild. So maybe they can make a late run. Who knows?
Who knows?
Games coming Monday. Toledo at Nacelle Baseball. Just kind of interesting.
Sure. If Nacelle throws Colton Lindstrom, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because Colton Lindstrom's one of the best players in the region.
And it's one of those where normally you wouldn't expect Colton Lindstrom to throw or Caden Schultz to throw for Toledo, but also Toledo's done with league games, so there's no point in saving him.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to just keep him on the shelf for 14 days.
Yeah.
It's rest, not rust, man.
Well, and even
you need to throw him.
Maybe you don't want to throw him 100 pitches or 80 pitches or whatever, but you throw him for like 3-4 innings.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming Lindstrom will probably be the same way. You just give him maybe 40 or 50 pitches.
Toledo's got one. Toledo is playing at Owako today, and then Nacelle. And I actually just was on the...
that Owako game is interesting today.
Yeah.
Is that the one you were going to surprise?
No. It's a deeper cut than that. But I was texting Matt Gall, Toledo's coach, a bit ago, and he said they were trying to get one more non-league game. I know like half the C2BL is playing Elma, who's in the same boat. But
I was going to say that Owako game was interesting because Owako clinched. The other thing we didn't mention, PWV baseball was playing for a league championship against Owako a couple days ago, and I went out to that one and they lost. So Owako pretty much clinched the Pacific 2B championship out there, and PWV is most likely the second. team.
Owako, yeah. Adna handled Owako earlier in the season, but things change.
Yeah.
I mean, Owako's a state team last year.
Yeah.
What's your deep cut that's so cool?
If you're not doing anything on Sunday, and I know we usually like dismiss this, but I think it's getting towards the point you might want to mention it. Centralia College Baseball is having a season. There are 13 games over 500. They've completely bounced back from a bit of a rough stretch, and they are solidly in the NWAC playoff picture. And the way their season wraps is they have 3 series left, and the one they're playing this week is against number 1 Tacoma, who is also in their division, and just their division is completely stacked. So they have to play 4 games against number 1 Tacoma, who is actually probably not, and 4 games against number 3 LCC, and obviously LCC is kind of the big, LCC versus Centralia is kind of the big deal here. But those 3 teams, those 2 series are going to be huge for them. They play Tacoma twice in Tacoma on Saturday, and if you get a chance to play, if they win even one of those games, then Sunday becomes a really huge series for them. That's the ultimate benchmark. And then the week after that, they play LCC. But these are going to be some of the best college baseball games that CC gets this whole season. And they've been really good this year, and they've been a fun one to watch. Obviously, they're playing out at their new field, and they play on Sundays where they don't have a ton of competition in the area. If you got a free afternoon, go out to Centralia College.
Yeah.
Right.
Watch a potential MLB guy too. Casey
Yeah.
Taggart. I know he's not an area guy, but a bunch of MLB scouts have been showing up, watching him. I don't know how many home runs he has.
He's leading the NWAC. I think he has 8 this year.
8 home runs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's crushing them. He's just kind of a man child. I think he's committed to go to Wazoo, but there's probably a good chance he gets
drafted. And they're building something there. Ben Harley, their coach, was saying that they've got obviously it's junior college, so nobody's there for more than 2 or 3 years, but they've got one of the youngest rosters in the league. They have like 2 sophomore pitchers. They're basically just hucking up a bunch of freshmen against the best division in the NWAC. And yeah, it's already good times for Centralia College baseball, but this will be the first really interesting end of the season that they've had for a while now.
Yeah, sounds like it. Okay, cool. And then Tuesday you've got Tenino at Montesano baseball doubleheader. That's league title implications, correct?
Yes. That's probably, I wish that were up in Tenino, because those will be very interesting games. Because the other thing too is, I don't know when their districts is. I got to reach out to Schlusser to see what their bracket looks like. But if Tenino loses that first game, maybe there's some, I mean, obviously you're still probably trying to win that third game, but maybe things change a little bit. But if Tenino takes that first game, there's going to be some interesting pitching and all that kind of thing going on to try to balance resources and all that. It's going to be fascinating. It's again, and that's what's cool about those double headers both being league games is like both the games matter, and the coaches are making all these decisions where they're like, oh, maybe we're trying to save this guy for the second game.
Do you throw your best guy out the first game against their best guy, or do you try to steal a game by maybe saving him for your second guy?
Yeah, it just makes it much more interesting.
Just imagine that if like Montesano wrapped up the league because only one was league, and they win the first game, they clinch the league, and it's like, oh well, now we have to play a non-league game.
Right.
Their districts will probably be May 8th through the 13th, Monday through Saturday thing.
And it's probably the same setup as they always have. 4 from the Trico.
4. A nice, simple, a bracket that just makes
no
sense.
Pigtail.
Single elimination, I think.
No bullshit out of those 1A guys.
No.
The only issue...
The 2As are fine, too. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, the only issue with the 1A... Yeah, even the Pigtail's fine. The only issue I have with the 1As is the EVCO, or sorry, not the EVCO, the Evergreen League only has 5 teams, so 4 teams get in. So sometimes you just get some really bad teams that make it into districts.
Remember, was it Tenino volleyball last fall was winless going into the final year, and going into the final weekend they were winless in league, but they were not eliminated.
Didn't they make districts?
I think they
won 1 game, so it got them into districts,
and
it's like,
yeah.
All right.
So anyway.
Anything else, you guys? Any other sports going on?
No, only other thing I remembered, quick shout out for your College of Idaho news. Jeffrey Glass from Toledo catcher just committed to play for the Yotes.
Good spot for them. They've got a strong program. They always have. Of course, we're a basketball school now.
Yeah, I saw that.
But baseball has always been pretty big over
any
there.
Other college?
I guess we should mention the Chehalis Activator Meet happened last week. Almost 1,000 kids descended on Chehalis and participated in that big invite. A couple standouts. Max O'Neill won both the 100 and he PR'd by a lot in the 200. I think he ran like a 23:17, I want to say, which is the second fastest time in 2B this year. It was a sunny day, so I'm sure that kind of helped with a lot of the PRs. They used to run in the rain. Lucas Hoff had a pretty good day, like he normally does. I'm trying to think of anyone else off the top. There were so many kids, and it's also been 4 days since then. But it was a good day. They put on a good meet there. They run it pretty tight, pretty fast. It's kind of amazing how many kids they get there, and it doesn't just devolve into a mess. Because normally I was a track guy, and you go to some of those invites, and things just get bogged down. And they run a good event. All the flights are super well managed and stuff. Like I remember going to an invite, I think my sophomore year, and it was super crazy because like Buda Baker was there. Obviously, he's all pro safety. He was at Bellevue.
Yeah.
A couple like UW guys at the time.
Did you race him?
I did jumps, and he beat me by a lot in long jump. But anyway, it was just a mess. They didn't do flights, so you were just kind of like waiting in line. You didn't really know when you had to go and stuff, and it was like this big meet in King County, and they ran a good tight event. It was cool to see.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. We'll be back next week to discuss, I don't know, whatever happens the rest of this week. Thanks for listening.